Wrestling fans around the corner, around the world. I'm Dan Marty.
I'm TJP.
The winner of the one and only WWE Cruiserweight Classic for all you diehard fans out there. Brand new Wrestling Insider Special Edition is next.
This is Mick Foley.
This is Harley Race.
This is Shelton Benjamin.
This is Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff.
This is the Monster Abyss.
And this is Daniel Bryan.
This is JBL, and you're watching the MWF.
Be there live.
Wrestling fans, welcome to another installment of Wrestling Insider Special Edition. Hope your Wednesday is going fine. We are here, as you can tell, outside of our normal auspices of MWF Studios in Boston, but very happy to have this gentleman back with me. As I said, due to some coronavirus snafus, some scheduling snafu as far as the day of the week, a lot of folks missed the first two tremendous interviews we released with TJP when he was with us in studio. I implore you to check them out. I thought they were two of the better interviews we've ever done. And when you look at the dozens and dozens of stars we've had in studio, that covers a lot of ground. We've been here at the Wrestle House during WrestleMania weekend for episodes that will air all spring and summer. And I'm happy to have you back again. We talked about pigs. We talked about social media, masks. We talked about wrestling a little bit, everything under the sun in the Sunshine State.
We did. I even had some water bottle product placement on accident here.
You've been given, and you had a nice sandwich. So,
I did.
And I found my wallet.
that
For those fans that watched the last episode, what you didn't understand was I have never been so happy for a talent to need to take a break in the middle of one of the interviews so he could eat his sandwich. As I threw apart my bedroom, I accidentally hit the sheet and the blanket, and there fell my wallet. So for those that were wondering, maybe, who knows, weeks since you saw the last episode, the wallet was found. So life is all good here in Tampa until the next catastrophe. But anyway, happy to have you back, TJ. So much I'd like to cover with you, and we're running out of time due to the plethora of snafus we've had. Some fans had sent in questions, because we always like to know what you guys want to know, but one that came from the mind of Glantz. He wanted to know, why, TJ, did you give up Puma?
Wow. What? First of all, Glantz. I don't know if I've ever met anybody named Glantz.
He's an animal.
It's pretty unique.
He's an animal.
Puma. So
Puma. Now, just I want to interject because I think it's interesting. That was the first time I ever met you when you worked a Cauliflower Alley show with Yoshida of the New Japan. I guess LA Dojo, is that what you call it?
The original one, yeah.
And that would have been 06?
I believe he went on to
April of 06?
He went on to be, what is it, CyberKong, I think. And,
really?
And
okay.
Dragon Gate. Yeah.
Is he still working?
You know, I haven't spoken or heard from him in years, so I don't know now. But man, I've been around so long now that there's so many guys have hung him up and they had themselves a full career. Yeah. I've been blessed with
Not everybody was 13 when they broke in and have your track record. Yeah,
getting thrown in the deep end at an early age really helped me in that way. But so Puma, I guess I never really gave it up. It's just that I started and I was myself. And initially, and this is going back to when I was like 13, red, white, blue, yellow, sun, stars, Filipino, American, I'm TJ Perkins, Teddy Perkins, whatever it is. But it's like, God, you're so young and you're so small. We can't just have you on, you need to be eaten alive. But then you have no shot at a career if that's what you're doing every night. So I had to wear a mask. So every night they were giving me merchandise masks from like the merch tables.
The vendors,
just wear this. So I'd be like Super Muñeco one night, kind of. I wouldn't call myself that, but like I'd be wearing random people's masks. Blue Panther, whoever, Mil Mascaras, and so I always had to cover my face. When I got a little bit older, just graduated high school, turned 18. I was watching this match actually today on I think it was maybe GCW. Is this morning. Starboy Charlie. He's 18 years old. I mean, he's still in high school. He's finishing, obviously, this year. And he's incredible. He's really talented. and you know, having some high profile matches. And I remember thinking back to that time, which this is getting to where I became Puma. When I went to New Japan, I started as a young lion, a young boy, just like everybody else. I had to, you know, buzz my head and, you know, do the basic match thing and do all the training, the squats, all that stuff.
You have to buzz your head?
Yeah.
I never knew that.
They didn't make me wear trunks because I had already been wrestling a while. So like they felt a little bit weird about totally, you know, kind of stripping apart my whole being a wrestler thing. But, you know, I did everything else, you know, and when I graduated, so to speak, of being a young lion, and because I had such a similarity to Sayama, Tiger Mask, they gave me Puma, the character. Now, it was just something that came up in their way of kind of leveling me up. I had never aspired to not be TJ. So at a certain point, when I got a little bit further away from New Japan, after I'd spent some time there and started kind of leaving New Japan, it was like, well, I'd like to be TJ, you know, and then, you know, as I got older and matured and wasn't too baby-faced, you know, people would say, oh, you know, you're not a bad-looking kid and you should just be yourself and you're kind of funny and you got an okay personality. Like how can we show it? And I'm like, well, I'm trapped under here. So I never really meant to give it up, but I never meant to have it in the first place. So at a certain point, I just started evolving into something else.
At what point did you become TJ?
So when they created Suicide in 2008 in Impact, it was a weird coincidence because they had presented it to Frankie Kazarian, who hated it.
Didn't he do it for a while?
He did. And we were at the pay-per-view in Houston. It was Destination X, maybe, 2008. And I remember he came back to the locker room and said, they pitched me this character, this idea, blah, blah, blah. It's kind of like Spider-Man, Deadpool. This is a superhero character. And he's like, I hate it. And Frankie was just coming into his own as himself. And I mean, he's such a complete wrestler. And I felt so bad for him because he was really finally getting to branch out and not be attached to anything. And they said, here, have the biggest anvil you can possibly carry now. And he was so upset. And I remember Christopher Daniels said, well, they should just have TJ do it. He's already in a mask. It would take nothing to switch from one to the other. Yeah. And we all kind of laughed it off. And I was done with TNA at that point. But when I came back, they were like, hey, you're going to be Suicide. I'm like, oh, what a coincidence. You almost did this 4 years ago. And then when they dropped Suicide a few years later, when I was leaving Impact, it was like, maybe we'll make you TJ. And they never pulled the trigger on that. So I said, you know what? I'm just going to be me from now on. I've gotten away from Puma a little bit. I'm done with Suicide and I'm not in Impact anymore. I'll be TJ. And then WWE was like, hey, come here and be you. We'd like, you know, first place to ever let me be me happened to be the biggest team to work for. And they just said, be you. So to answer your question.
It was almost like you were fresh, you know.
Yeah.
You did the Suicide for so long, and Manik.
I never meant to paint over Puma. It just, the colors faded and I decided to just be what was underneath. So.
Well, and it's done you well since.
Yeah.
I mean, do you prefer now just to be yourself?
I mean, I don't know. I of course you love being yourself, but I always looked at wrestling probably the way that like Johnny Depp looks at movies. You know, like I liked playing characters and doing different stuff. I liked supporting the other guy and playing a different role. I never had this idea that I wanted my name to have a legacy with it. Like I've never wanted to be that. Like I don't want to go down in history as anything. I don't care about that. So to me, I always had fun playing all these different characters, you know, Puma, Suicide, El Bombero, whatever the case may be, all these different characters. So I like it.
One question that had come up through the email system was, you know, a huge guy you are not, but compared to a lot of the active roster in WWE right now, would there be great potential for you to be someone that could be one of the top tier players on a Raw or a SmackDown?
So
how tall are you?
5'10". Yeah.
So I mean, I think that almost answers the question.
When I was still in the cruiserweights, so I was on 205. So when they shortened my name to TJP, that was my request. I asked for two things from Vince that day. I said, "Can we shorten my name? I'm a heel now. I think it'd be kind of a way to kind of landmark my change into this bad guy." You know, and he said, sure. The second thing he said no to. And the second thing was, can I have a valet? Oh. And it was, Summer Rae was cleared, but they didn't have anything for her to do. And, we were friends and we both kind of thought that that'd be a cool thing to do, like a Sean and Sherry type of dynamic. And so we both pitched it and he said no. And we're pretty sure it was on the grounds that other than me and Gulak, she was taller than everybody in the cruiserweights. So
and then there's that.
There wasn't very many people that were taller than 5'6", 5'7", but I was one of them. But a year later, I had asked to, I wanted out, and I said I'm not, I told Vince I'm not. I feel like I'm wasting your money, wasting your time, and he said, well, let's see if we can get you something bigger. So he felt like I could have fit in. I met the criteria of fitting in. He just didn't know what creatively to do with me. So yeah, maybe I think I'm big enough anyway, tall enough to do that.
I think it's just a waste. When you look at a show that could use so much freshness, a fresh coat of paint so much, where it feels like you see so many repetitive matches over and over again, and you see the same characters sometimes 3-4 times a week on the same TV show. And to let a talent like that go, or however it was, phrased, mutual agreement to leave, or however, on what terms they may have been, sometimes you come across guys and it's like, why? You know what I mean?
Spread your wings was the word, the exact verbiage that Vince had said to me.
He told you to spread your wings?
Spread your wings.
Well, you're still flying. How about that?
He said, you got balls, kid, and I respect what you're trying to do, but I don't know how to do it here, so spread your wings.
Really?
I had the complete opposite not narrative, not story, whatever, scenario going to Impact afterward because I wanted to be there. They wanted me there, which I guess was different than WWE. I didn't want to be there anymore. And they probably didn't necessarily want me to go. They just, at a certain point, they knew I was unhappy and didn't know what to do with me. So they didn't want to keep me if I didn't want to be there. But Impact, they wanted me to come in. I wanted to go back to Impact. But it was the opposite. I think from the get-go, they're like, we would love to get you to do stuff in the X Division, the world title scene and stuff like that. And I was like, I did the opposite with them. I was like running from that. I'm like, no, put me with Fallah. I want to be in a tag team. Put me in. Let me do.
No,
other
why was
stuff.
that?
I just really wanted to do something different. I had been the X Division champion before, and I didn't. Me doing that, which is still an honor, and I did it anyway. Recently, but they have such a great roster, and they're all these new guys that are coming up trying to break out, and you hate to see them leave if they start to get other opportunities in other places, So it just felt like, well, I don't need the X Division title. I'll help all the guys in it, but to put me in that spot means you might lose a guy who should be in that spot, and they're going to get a chance to be the TNT champ or something in AEW or go to 205. And it's like, well, don't lose those guys because you're wasting the spot on me and I've already done it, And then it's like the world title thing is like being up in like the with the heavy hitters and stuff. It's like, that's cool. But, I also saw a really young tag division and Fallah, who we share, a community with and a background, him being Filipino as well. And I just felt like that would be a lot of fun to do. I hadn't been in a tag team, and some of the guys could use some guidance, and there's a lot of fun matches we could do. And it just seemed like this would be a nice change of pace. So, but then they keep wanting me to do single stuff, but they let me do a little bit of both. So it's nice.
Have you enjoyed the run?
I have, yeah. I did enjoy being the X Division champion again, and if it happens another time, then great. If they have me work with some of the other guys, then that's great too. But it looks like they're going to let me do some more stuff with Fallah again, so that'll be a lot of fun. That's really, to me, that's like where my passion lies at the moment, is that.
Well, how do you like teaming with him?
I love it. It's so
out of the box for you, it seems like, compared to your normal TJP.
It is, but it's really the box I had always kind of hoped to be in. Because, like with WWE and even with Impact before, creatively, I just felt like I was this the whole time. So they didn't really get me. And like you have said previously, like you enjoy my personality, my sense of humor, and my rhythm.
Yeah.
I never had a chance to be that with the cooperation of the people that are producing it, because they would always, like in WWE, like, all right, in this scene, we need you to kind of say this type of thing and act like this and have this sort of demeanor because you're the champ. You're an alpha. You're like the big dog in the room. Like, guys, I've never felt like the big dog in any room. I'm not an alpha at all. Like, that's not who I am. It's like, no, that's who you are. It's like, you do not know me at all as a character or as a human, but I would do it anyway. And same thing with Impact. I wanted to, when I was getting away from the manic and suicide stuff, it's like, I have another personality to me. And it's like, well, we just don't know what that is. And it's like, I'm trying to tell you, just give me a chance to do it. And with Fallah, it's nice because now I can be funny and I can be loose and I can be who we are. And we can represent, a community that has really had no representation, I joke with people like the video of the girl, like, look at all these chickens. She's looking at a field of ducks. It's this little, like almost a toddler. I think she's Filipino, and it's like she would rank as like a top 5 Filipino celebrity all time because our list is very short.
Wow.
It's like Manny Pacquiao and Batista, and then like
The chicken girl.
and then her, and then me. Like if I'm on a top 5 list of all time like celebrity for any kind of community, that's a short community, like with zero representation.
And I know you wanted to take great pride in what you wanted to do when you were in WWE with it. I remember you mentioned in the interviews before. You thought there was a lot that you could do as, an influencer.
So a lot of what I want to do. I mean, that was a side product of it. I mean, if my career works great because of that representation, cool. But mostly, I just wanted to be able to incorporate my representation so that other people can do it. Because there's a lot of us, Shotzi, she's Filipino.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Joaquin Wilde, he's Filipino, and the people think he's Mexican because, he's in a group with Latinos and he doesn't open. And I'm not saying, I'm not saying like you gotta identify it and make it a stereotype, but I just feel like there's a lot of us that would help some people in whatever walk of life that otherwise don't feel like they can identify as themselves. And it doesn't even have to be Filipino. It could be anything. You can be your religion, your orientation, your whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, I just thought it'd be great for me to help my own community and by byproduct of that, help other communities because they have the same thing. So with Fallah, I feel like I can do that. We start to give Southeast Asians and Asian Americans somebody to be like, oh, I can kind of relate to that.
Yeah.
I grew up with a rice cooker in my household and the little grandma broom and stuff like that. And just the different jokes we make and things. It's fun. And we get to have fun and be ourselves.
Good. You're enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
Isn't that nice? Sometimes in wrestling, my God, imagine actually enjoying yourself doing something you always wanted to do since you were a kid. Yes. Worked so hard to get there, got there, and then it's like, story of my life.
I absolutely love it. Every time I go to work, and especially when I get to do what I do with Fallah, it's such a treat.
Now, some fans had sent in some thoughts about what does he think of fill in the blank and so on. Mm-hmm. And Wild was one of the ones that was actually mentioned. My opinion, it certainly doesn't matter as much as yours, where you're the centerpiece of this talk show. But I think TNA or Impact Wrestling is so loose in regards to letting guys have access to characters that they've used. I think WWE, where they want to be so larger than life and colorful, is really missing the boat on someone that was so over and had so much personality and was so much fun and Impact.
Yeah.
And he's in such a boring, lifeless gimmick on NXT
he's a henchman,
Yeah. And he's one, you know what?
And he's really good at being a henchman, but man, he's leaving a lot of tools in the toolbox, I agree. I think, but that's the thing too. Like another reason why I wanted to leave is that things are so territorial there.
Yeah.
And I think, like in his case, obviously he's going to be Walking Wild, but he can't be Walking Wild as DJZ because he can't wear the outfit because that's Ali's thing. He can't have, the music and the aesthetic because that's maybe because of Naomi, and he can't do, maybe his outfit a certain way.
That's a really good point.
Like all these things are elements that they're like, nope, we've already checked off that box for somebody. And it's like, why does it have to be that way? And so I remember every day I would finish a pre-tape and they'd say, can you reshoot that? Somebody else said they're going to tap out their opponent. We can't have two of you guys saying the same thing. I was like, guys, one, you could ask the other people to just redo their thing if you want to be territorial. So on a personal level, it gets annoying to always be the one that they expect to, like, can you bend over backwards, please? Because we really don't want to have to ask them to do it. Or it's just like, why do we have to have that? You know, because I've always said a great artist can take the same tools as everybody else and still make something completely unique and irreplaceable. If you can't, you're not good at your job. You know, I don't think, you know, Picasso ever picked up a paintbrush and said, I hope nobody else uses a paintbrush to create art because then I'm done. I mean, fuck, he's Picasso, you know? Like, and speaking of my kinship, I guess, Pacquiao had this great quote during the Mayweather negotiations. He was on like a radio show. And, you know, they had all this back and forth, and, you know, Mayweather would pin it on Pacquiao. He's the reason why we're not getting this done. And Pacquiao's team would be like, well, Floyd won't negotiate. He can't agree to this or that. So the host said, you know, Manny, what's the deal? Like, what's it going to take to get you guys in the ring? Like, we keep hearing that, you know, you guys just can't agree on this or that. And Manny said, and there's so much wisdom in this. And he said, look, he can have a bigger split of the money. He can have top billing. He can pick what music we have. He can pick first entrance or last. He can pick the ring size, the glove size. He could even come out in my trunks if he wants to. I just want to get in there and box. And that has always been my take. So whenever I would be told, like, you know, you can't say this in your pre-tape because that's somebody else said that. You can't do this pose because it's too close to this guy's pose. We can't have this in your entrance because that's an element from this guy's thing, or you can't do this move anymore because so-and-so is going to do that move, or it's too close to this. And it's like, guys, like, you can play my music for them. I don't care. Like, I'm going to be just as good as I was regardless. You could have everybody doing my move, my whatever inside. Trust me, it's going to be fine. You know, UFC is a billion-dollar business. Every one of them wears black trunks and they all do the same 5 moves. It doesn't matter, you know. Didn't stop Conor McGregor.
No.
Coincidentally, they would love to have a guy like Conor McGregor.
He's no kidding,
Yeah.
right?
So I just felt like that was them not asking the right questions. And the territorialness of it is another reason why I wanted to leave. And that's why, in my opinion, that's why, you know, DJZ / Joaquin Wild is, you know, he's doing a great job, what he's doing. So I still love what he's doing, but it's like,
no, it's nothing wrong with what he's doing, but there was just so much potential.
What could otherwise enhance him as something that was natural and fit him perfectly is probably off the table because of those things. And
It's lousy.
It makes it not fun.
On a show when you have 205 Live that a lot of people really couldn't care less about, I mean, there's someone that could be one of the faces of it if given the right opportunity, you know?
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
And that's one, and I like him an awful lot too. He had to cancel on us, not once but twice. You know, the poor guy had the injury bug so many times. So many. One time he got injured, and then one time something happened with TNA. So 2 shots he owes us, 2 plane tickets I have under Michael Paris, but just a really good guy. Can't say anything negative about him. Also on the list, as we only have a few minutes left, Adam Cole. I didn't know that you two ever worked.
Yeah, only once or twice maybe. We've tagged a couple times in Ring of Honor. I think we did like the Shikara crossover. We were on the same team. And one time we were on opposite sides in a PWG card, and it was like a 6-man. There's a lot of people in that match.
So never a one-on-one?
Never a one-on-one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I mean, he's excellent. He's amazing. He's so easy of a personality to be around. He's so easygoing. He's such a nice guy. He's very smart, makes great decisions in the ring. He's very humble. He's insightful. He's one of the nicest human beings I've ever met in my life. And
wow.
I'm actually really happy for everything he's done because everybody always saw that potential in him. But I always wondered, like, man, it's not like I see it too. But then I was like, is he too nice of a guy to be able to put all these things? Because you kind of have to be a little bit of a shark to put all that stuff together. The amount of potential people saw in him. Because, I mean, they saw, like, this guy's, he can be, like, head of the industry. That much potential, you know. And I always thought, he's got all the tools for it, but, like, he might be too nice of a guy. And it's so, like, he's done such a good job of giving himself, like, the right balance of, you know, putting it all together. You could believe anything. You believe he's a nice guy, you believe he's a bad guy. Like, he's excellent. So, yeah, I've always had wonderful experiences with him.
What about one of my favorites that we've had here in Boston Wrestling, MWF? Another one I had no idea that you ever worked. I'd love to see the match. Chris Sabin.
Oh, we've worked a lot.
Where?
Most of it was
TNA?
Yeah, most of it was his Puma. And
I don't remember any of it.
And when he was the world champ, for that brief run, I was Suicide. So we had like world champ versus ex champ type stuff going on. And we were buddies, but then when he turned heel, he kind of turned heel on me actually as well. So we had a lot there. We've done a couple Ultimate X matches together and some singles and stuff like that. And it's funny, I said it about Adam, but Sabin legitimately, I think, is the nicest human being I've ever met.
Isn't he something? He's a great
guy.
guy.
I've never met somebody who's so soft-spoken and so like incredibly thoughtful. I've never seen him be upset in his life. I've never seen him say a bad word about anything or anyone. He's incredible. He has like zero ego to him. He doesn't care anything about himself for the most part. Like he's just so. He produces now too.
Oh, really?
He does. He does a lot of production stuff in Impact, and he couldn't be more perfect for it because he has no like. He's always been like about helping anybody around him. It's just an incredible human being. And yeah, we've known each other a long time, 20 years at least, I'm sure.
It's great that he's back in the business where he was kind of out for a while.
Yeah, and I ask him all the time, like, you know, because we're good friends, and I'll ask him like how he's feeling and everything, where he's at, and you know, he's been wrestling too, so he's kind of wearing two hats. He's kind of doing like a Fit Finley right now, but he said he's feeling like the first time in 10 years he's actually felt like himself. He's kind of like feeling healthy and feeling good. And,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I reached out to him right around when coronavirus stuff was happening on that show that I was mentioning to you, because I said, we haven't had him in forever. I wonder what he's up to. And he said, I'm just really not feeling it right now. And then within a few months later, he was back in Impact, which I thought was great.
Yeah, he had been cleared for a little while and was unsure about it. So he would be at the Impact shows and producing and doing backstage stuff. And he would get in and work out in the ring. We worked out a couple times before a show, just rolling around and just getting him. He took a long time to see how he felt. I remember because I kept asking him, like, when you've been cleared forever, when are you gonna like? And you look great. I'm like, when are you gonna take the training wheels off? And he's like, I don't know. And eventually he pulled the trigger on it, but I still think he's kind of taking it slow. But I ask him all the time. He says he's feeling good. So
well, good. I hope it stays that way. He's a really good egg. I just got to check the time real quick. Oh, we're really running short. What about Kevin Owens, Kevin Steen?
Kevin, one of the most talented people I've ever met.
Really?
Yeah. Like
really?
Yeah.
Wow, I'm kind of taken aback by that.
No, I mean, he's like, you could put him in front of anybody or any lens and he can tell a story instantly. I remember hearing like how he got hired. He was in the PC and it seemed like, let's say you got to get 10 out of 10 votes to get in. And it was like he was getting like 0 out of 10, like people didn't see it. And it was like, you know, I think it was the story was like Regal had to kind of pull him aside and say, look, ask him to talk about this. And they said, talk about Cena. He cut a promo on Cena. And talk about this. Cut a promo on this. And just nailed it. Just hitting home runs left and right. And they're like, okay, we get it now. And he's like, he's so talented. Physically, you could see he's incredibly talented. And I've always enjoyed, like, because he's very, like, he's a homebody. And he's similar to me. Like, people think that I'm not. Which is, we talked before about like what people think I am in real life.
Your wild Vegas life.
Yeah, like I'm this like crazy wild, like, you know, alpha male human. But like really, I've always wanted a quiet life at home, and he's always been a family man. So I always would, when I would see him, I would always ask him, you know, like, how's the wife? How's the kid? How's the kids? When he started having a bigger family, like, and so I've always admired that about him. You know, he's always been a really talented guy. I don't know if he feels the same, but but I think the world of him. You know, I think, you know, he's somebody that I've always looked to and thought like I got a lot in common with that. Like I just kind of want to do my thing and have my family. So
cool. What about a guy that I think is finally starting to get his just due a little bit with some NXT takeover type main events? Kyle O'Reilly.
Kyle, I've known Kyle a long time.
He kind of seemed like he was just pigineholed in that tag team forever. Man,
I have such an amount of respect for Kyle, like personally, because, like, you know, I was thrown into this at a young age and had to make a lot of sacrifices as far as like just going wherever I was shipped off to. You know, I was like living in a circus or being a pirate or being in the military. It's just like, you know, I went from like being in high school to like, all right, you're living in Mexico now for a year. Oh, you're living in Japan for a year, you know, stuff like that. And Kyle relocated for wrestling and, you know, to, you know, the United States for the Indies, for Ring of Honor, for all these things. And I remember for a period of time, he was literally stranded here. That he came to America.
Really?
And then he was here for a while, and then it was like he had a visa, but then the visa expired. But then it was like, if you go home, you're not going to be able to come back. So I remember I was like, hey, what are you doing for the holidays? He's like, nothing.
Did he have a place to stay?
He was just like crashing with like another wrestler or something like that. And I'd ask him, like, what are you doing? He's like, I can't go home and see my family. If I go home, I'll never come back. They won't let me. So I mean, such an amazing sacrifice just to make sure he's like available. And I remember thinking, God, dude, like and he works so hard. He's so good at what he does. And I remember just thinking, man, I really hope somebody scoops you up and sees your personality. Because for a while he didn't get to show who he was. Now he's more fun than he is a wrestler. Before he was just a wrestler. And I was like, man, like, I hope every star aligns for you at some point, because you are just sacrificing so much. And that's something I can relate to. I'm like people don't realize how hard that part is. And it did. And I'm so happy for him. I texted him recently when he had that scare with the EMT thing on NXT. Thankfully he was fine, but he was like, how are you? I'm like, what do you mean how am I? How are you? But no, there's very few people that I'm more happy for than Kyle, because he just put up with so much to do it. So
I don't know if you saw some of his recent main event matches he had with Fergal, but I mean, just off the charts.
Yeah, I was rewatching one recently because I see Shibata a lot in New Japan, and I was watching his match with Shibata from a few years back, and I was like, man, Kyle, you're so incredible. It's amazing that it doesn't stick in more people's like mind how good you are. It fades too quickly because you like people should be talking about you nonstop.
Well, he's white hot right now, so maybe his 21.
I hope so.
Continues. Yeah. This will be his year. But unfortunately, folks, I hate to say it, but we're running out of time again. We talked too much. We lost too many wallets. We had sinister ministers running around when he got here.
And people say I'm not a talker.
Well, I want to get you back in the studio, too. For those that are not the TJP fans, I need to know why. Because, again, I am not the world's biggest people person. I have fun talking to you guys online during the premieres, in private interactions and so on. But in person, I don't know if it's a Virgo thing, but I'm more shy than people would think, where I have kind of a loud voice and so on. But I don't get the hate. But if you guys can explain to me in the premiere box over here on Wednesday night, or in the description box below, tell me why. Because I think not only in the ring is he great, he's a good human being too. So that's my opinion. But now we are on to a special project that you'll be seeing months before this video ever surfaces. So for my friend TJP, I'm dear Marty, you and yours, be well, stay healthy, we'll see you soon. Good night.
The World Wrestling Federation was live at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, Sunday, June the 23rd, 1985. In the opening contest, Terry Gibbs drew Joe Marcus. B. Brian Blair beat Barry O. Jim Brunzell with the win over Rene Goulet. The British Bulldogs defeated the Hart Foundation. Big John Studd victorious over Swede Hansen. Bob Orton and Bobby the Brain Heenan, who replaced Ken Patera, who had gone to jail, beat Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff and the Junkyard Dog via disqualification. And in the main event, Ricky the Dragon Steamboat with the win over WWF Intercontinental Champion Greg the Hammer Valentine via countout. If you were in Toronto live, share your memories in the comment section below. Use the links in the description box to keep Wrestling Legends working in our eBay store and on our world-renowned Patreon streaming service, so we can bring you more interactive superstar shoot interviews to relive the good old days of professional wrestling. Check it out. Boston wrestling sports in the MWF explodes into a new year with professional wrestling content galore and need you to join our family. Every Tuesday night at 10 p.m. after our Monday Night Raw review, it's Wrestling Insiders at your house with WWE Hall of Famer Mr. USA Tony Atlas. Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. after NXT and AEW, join rotating legends on Wrestling Insiders Special Edition. Every Thursday night at 10 p.m. after our NXT and Dynamite review, it's Marty Jannetty's No Holds Barred Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll journey on Wrestling Insiders Party with Marty. Friday night after SmackDown, don't miss John Cena Sr.'s Wrestling Insiders Fabulous Fridays. Plus, look for classic clips, history videos, bonus live episodes, pay-per-view watch-alongs, and more. for less than a cup of coffee at Starbucks. Get early, ad-free access to our Wrestling Insider talk shows, our acclaimed studio shoot interview DVD library, and help keep wrestling legends working during the worst of times. Join our growing family at patreon.com/Boston Wrestling. Expect the unexpected in 2021.